The sky above the arcane academy did not open. It tore. One moment, it was a calm stretch of blue scattered with drifting clouds. The next, it split apart like fabric caught on something far too sharp. Light bent unnaturally around the tear, folding inward as if the heavens themselves were being peeled back. Students froze mid-incantation. A floating orb of fire blinked out of existence with a sad pop. A levitating book dropped on someone's head. Somewhere, a summoned frog vanished, leaving behind only confusion and a faint smell of pond water. Then came the sound, a deep, resonating hum, not loud but heavy. The kind of vibration that didn't pass through your ears, but your bones. The stone beneath the academy trembled in quiet protest. Inside the grand courtyard, Archmage slowly lowered her teacup. "Well," she said, voice calm despite the sky actively unraveling above them. "That's new." From the tear descended a shape that did not belong to magic. It was angular, perfect, sharp in ways no spell could replicate. A massive obsidian vessel, smooth and reflective, its surface untouched by rune or enchantment. It moved without wind, without effort, like a thought drifting into reality. The academy's protective wards flared to life. Ancient runes carved into pillars and walls glowed gold, then flickered, then dimmed, as if uncertain whether they were witnessing a threat or something that simply ignored their existence. The ship stopped above the courtyard. A beam of cold, artificial blue light cut through the air and struck the ground with precise, terrifying intent. The students stepped back. Someone whispered, "Is this a test?" "No test I've ever seen," muttered a senior mage. The beam intensified, and from it something descended. Tall, far taller than any human. Its form was encased in armor that shimmered like liquid metal, shifting subtly with every movement. No seams, no joints, just a perfect, unnatural surface that reflected the world in distorted fragments. 6 glowing eyes flickered open across its face, each one scanning, each one calculating, each one judging. Its feet touched the stone with a soft, deliberate click. Cracks spread outward instantly. It stood still for a moment, taking everything in, the towers, the students, the lingering magic in the air. Then it spoke. It declared, voice layered and metallic, echoing as though multiple versions of itself were speaking at once, am Commander HFY of the Galactic Dominion. The words carried weight, not magical weight, something else, something colder. A few students exchanged confused looks. Galactic. Is that like Inter Kingdom? Dominion sounds bad, someone whispered. XYRR raised one arm, and with it, the air shimmered. A projection appeared, vast, detailed, impossible. Stars, entire systems, worlds burning, fleets of ships like the one above them, blotting out suns. We have conquered civilizations beyond your comprehension. XYRR continued. We command the fabric of reality itself. We bend physics to our will. The projection shifted, showing weapons that hummed with terrifying precision, cities that floated without magic, beings that looked nothing like anything found in spellbooks. Then the projection vanished. Silence fell over the courtyard. XYRR tilted its head slightly. This planet has been designated for acquisition. A pause. You will surrender. A hand went up. XYRR blinked. Yes. A first-year student, still holding a slightly smoking wand, spoke nervously. What happens if we don't? XYRR turned its full attention toward him. The air seemed to tighten. Then your resistance will be corrected. Oh, the student said, nodding slowly. That sounds bad. Another student leaned over. Ask him what galactic means. I heard that, XYRR said flatly. Meanwhile, Archmage stepped forward, robe swaying softly. Her expression wasn't fear. It was curiosity. You speak of power, she said calmly, yet you stand in a place built on it. XYRR's gaze shifted to her. I detect no measurable structure in your so-called magic, he replied. It is chaotic, inefficient, primitive. A murmur spread through the students. Primitive. Hey, I studied for years. XYRR extended its arm again. A faint energy field shimmered around it, layer upon layer of invisible defenses, each one humming with precision. We rely on systems that are perfect, XYR said. Predictable. Controlled. Its gaze swept across the courtyard, landing briefly on a floating broom that had accidentally crashed into a wall. You rely on this. A book nearby snapped shut indignantly. A student whispered, "It's not that bad." XYRR leaned forward slightly. You wave sticks. You chant words. You hope something happens. A pause. Statistically, this is absurd. Silence. Then, from somewhere in the back, we also turn people into frogs. XYRR froze. Slowly, all 6 of its eyes turned toward the speaker. Explain. The student shrugged. It's like a thing we do. Another added, not always on purpose. A third nodded. Yeah, sometimes it's an accident. XYRR processed this. You are admitting your methods lack control. Sometimes, the first student said proudly. And you consider this strength? A beat. Then a voice, quiet but confident. It works. XYRR straightened. For the first time since its arrival, there was a pause in its certainty. A fraction of hesitation. Demonstrate, it said. And just like that, the war for Earth became something very, very strange. The courtyard held its breath. Even the wind seemed to pause, as if the world itself leaned in to watch what would happen next. Commander XYRR stood at the center of the cracked stone, towering and flawless, its 6 glowing eyes fixed on the gathered humans. Around it, the students of the Arcane Academy shifted nervously, but not in fear. In anticipation, Archmage Eloan stepped forward, her staff tapping lightly against the ground. You asked for a demonstration, she said. XYRR inclined its head slightly. Correct. Show me something measurable. A faint shimmer flickered around its body, then expanded. Layer upon layer of translucent energy unfolded like overlapping glass petals. Each layer hummed at a slightly different frequency, forming a protective barrier so complex it distorted the air itself. Adaptive shielding, XYRR explained. It analyzes and nullifies all incoming threats. A student squinted. It looks expensive. It is perfect, XYRR replied. Eloan smiled faintly. Perfect things are often the most fragile. A few students snickered. XYRR ignored them. Proceed. Eloan raised her staff. Golden light gathered at its tip, coiling into intricate patterns, sigils forming, dissolving, reforming again in a fluid dance of magic. The air warmed. The ground beneath her feet glowed faintly as ancient runes awakened in response to her power. Even XYRR's eyes narrowed slightly. At last, it said, "A structured spell." Eloan paused. Then, slowly, she lowered her staff. "Actually," she said, glancing over her shoulder, "let's make this more educational." Confusion rippled through the courtyard. "Oh no," someone whispered. "She's doing it again." Eloan pointed toward the crowd. "You," she said. A girl near the back froze. "Me." "Yes. Apprentice Mira. Come here." Mira looked around wildly, as if hoping someone else would take her place. No one did. I'm only first year," she stammered, clutching her wand. "Perfect," Eloan said brightly. XYR made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You would send an untrained novice against me." Mira walked forward on shaky legs. "I don't even know combat spells." "Even better," Eloan said. "No bad habits." "That is not reassuring," Mira whispered. XYRR crossed its arms. "This will be brief." Mira stopped a few paces away from the towering alien. Up close, it was worse. The armor wasn't just smooth. It was alive, shifting subtly like liquid metal. The glowing eyes didn't blink. They didn't need to. They simply watched, analyzed, judged. Mira swallowed. "Okay," she muttered. "Okay, Mira, you can do this." Behind her, a student whispered, "Don't mess up." Another added, "Please don't turn us into frogs." "I heard that," Mira hissed. XYRR raised one hand slightly. "Proceed, human." Mira lifted her wand. Her grip tightened. A faint spark flickered at its tip, uncertain, unstable. She closed her eyes for a moment. Think. Combat spell. No. Shield spell. Definitely no. Her mind raced through everything she'd learned. Basic transfiguration. Minor illusion. That one spell she barely passed. Her eyes snapped open. Okay, I remember this one. She pointed her wand. Her voice wavered. Transfiguratio felonious. Silence. Nothing happened. A bird chirped somewhere. One of the academy towers creaked slightly. A student coughed. Oh no. Someone whispered. Not that spell. It only works on furniture. Myra's face turned bright red. I am sorry. XYR didn't move. That is your attack, it asked flatly. Mira lowered her wand slightly. I told you, I'm not good at. Ping. The sound was tiny, barely noticeable, but XYR froze. Its eyes flickered. An anomaly? A faint ripple spread across the outer layer of its shield. The students blinked. Did you see that? See what? Ping. Another ripple. This one slightly stronger. XYRR's posture shifted. Its arm twitched as it ran internal diagnostics. Impossible. Mira stared. I didn't. Ping. The outermost layer of the shield flickered. Just for a second. But it was enough. XYRR's voice dropped. My defenses are adapting. Are they? Eloan said softly. Ping. Another ripple. This time, the second layer flickered. A murmur spread through the crowd. Wait. It's actually doing something. How? Mira blinked rapidly. I don't understand. Ping. The shield shimmered violently. XYR took a step back. For the first time since its arrival. This is not possible, it said. It's not even a strong spell, someone shouted. That's the point, another replied. Myra's wand trembled in her hand. I think it's working. Ping. A crack appeared in the shield. Not physical. Conceptual. Like reality itself had briefly forgotten how the barrier was supposed to function. XYRR's voice sharpened. All systems recalibrating. Ping. The shield collapsed. Not shattered. Not destroyed. It simply stopped existing. For a single, terrifying moment, Commander XYRR stood unprotected. Myra's eyes widened. Oh no. Her wand flared. The spell, weak and unstable, suddenly surged forward. Not with power, but with possibility. XYRR tried to react. Tried to move. Tried to activate something, anything. But it was too late. The magic touched it. And unlike its perfect systems, magic didn't care about perfection. It cared about outcome. There was a flash. A soft, almost harmless poof. And then, silence. Where the towering alien commander had stood, there was something much, much smaller. Mira blinked. Oh, someone whispered. No way. Another. She didn't. And then, from the center of the courtyard, a very small voice said, What? Silence fell over the courtyard. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that happens when reality itself pauses and says, Wait. Where Commander XYR, the towering, flawless warlord of the Galactic Dominion, had stood only moments ago, now sat a cat. A very small cat. Black fur. Slightly puffed. Bright, glowing eyes that looked far too intelligent for something currently licking its paw in confusion. The cat blinked once. Then twice. Its ears twitched. What? The voice was unmistakable. Still layered. Still metallic. Still echoing faintly. Just coming out of something that weighed maybe 4 kilograms. The courtyard exploded. It worked. No way and oh way. She turned him into a cat. I didn't mean to. Mira screamed, dropping her wand like it had personally betrayed her. The cat, Commander XYRR, looked down at itself. Slowly. Carefully. This form is unacceptable. It lifted one paw. Turned it slightly. I have paws. A student gasped. It has toe beans. I do not have toe beans. Say it again. Someone whispered, but like softer. I will erase your species. Ah, another student said, clutching their chest. It's angry. XYRR attempted to stand taller. It managed about 8 inches. This is a temporary condition, it declared. All systems will be restored shortly. It tried to activate its armor. Nothing happened. No shimmer. No energy. No overwhelming display of technological superiority. Just fur. XYRR froze. Access command interface. Nothing. Activate combat protocols. Nothing. Deploy. It stopped. Its tail flicked. I have a tail. The students leaned closer as one. Careful. Someone whispered. It might explode. I do not explode. A small hand reached out. Can I pet it? Do not. Too late. A gentle pat landed on XYR's head. Everything froze. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. XYR did not move, did not speak, did not annihilate anyone. The student blinked. It's soft. I am not. The voice cut off. XYR blinked. What was that? The student smiled. You purred. I did not purr. You definitely purred. I will destroy this planet. Yeah, but like after a nap, someone suggested. I do not require. XYR stopped. Its body betrayed it. A small, involuntary stretch. A yawn. The entire courtyard gasped. Oh my. IT yawned. This is history. I hate all of you. XYR said, now sitting down because apparently that was happening whether it liked it or not. Above them, the alien ship pulsed. A beam of light flickered. A voice echoed down. My lord. The courtyard froze. Students slowly looked up, then back at the cat, then up again. My lord. The voice repeated, more uncertain this time. We detected a disruption in your signal. Status report. XYR straightened. Well, as much as a cat could. I have been temporarily compromised. Pause. Define compromised. XYR hesitated. All 6 glowing eyes narrowed. My current form is reduced. The ship was silent. Reduced how, my lord? The entire courtyard leaned in. Even Archmage Aloan raised an eyebrow. XYR exhaled slowly. I am smaller. How much smaller? A long pause. Significantly. Another pause. My lord. The voice said carefully. Our visual sensors are indicating. Do not describe it. Silence. Understood. Another voice cut in, more aggressive. My lord, shall we initiate planetary cleansing? The words hit like a hammer. The student stiffened. Myra's face went pale. Eloan's expression sharpened slightly. For a moment, the humor vanished. War was still war. Even if one side was currently fluffy. XYR looked around. At the students. At Mira. At the academy. At the place that had done something no weapon, no fleet, no empire had ever achieved. Then it looked down at its paw. Flexed it slightly. Stand down. XYR said. My lord. Stand. Down. Yes, my lord. The ship dimmed. The threat faded. The courtyard exhaled. Mira nearly collapsed. I almost started a war. You did start a war. Someone whispered. You just won it weirdly. XYR sat in silence for a moment. Then, a student slowly pushed a small bowl forward. Do you eat? I do not require sustenance. XYR said automatically. Its stomach growled. Loudly. The courtyard froze. That was not me. The bowl was nudged closer. It's fish. XYR stared at it. This is irrelevant. 5 seconds later, the bowl was empty. No one said anything. XYR licked its paw, then froze. This is unacceptable. A student wiped a tear. I can't, this is too much. Eloan took a slow sip of her tea. Well, she said calmly. That went better than expected. Mira stared at the cat. Can I fix it? XYR looked at her. All 6 glowing eyes focused. Eventually. A pause. But not yet. Why not? XYR turned slightly, watching the students whisper, laugh, stare in awe. Because, it said slowly, I need to understand something. What? XYR's tail flicked. How a civilization that operates on accidents just defeated perfection. Silence. Then someone whispered, we're built different. And for the first time since arriving on Earth, Commander XYR did not argue. By the next morning, the most feared warlord in the galaxy was sitting on a wooden desk. Still a cat. Still very, very offended. Commander XYR's tail flicked with sharp, controlled irritation as it watched Mira attempt a basic levitation spell for the 5th time. Focus, XYR said. I am focusing. Mira snapped, her wand trembling slightly. The book in front of her rose, wobbled, and smacked her gently on the forehead before dropping again. XYRR closed all 6 eyes for a moment. Your spell matrix is unstable. I know. Your wand angle is incorrect. I know. You are overcompensating with intent instead of structure. Mira paused. What? XYRR opened its eyes again. There's a pattern to your magic. Not precise, not efficient, but consistent in its inconsistency. That doesn't make sense. Exactly. Across the classroom, several students watched in open fascination. Is the alien teaching her? I think the alien is better at magic than we are. I hate that. Someone whispered. At the front of the room, Professor Aloan leaned casually against her desk, sipping tea as if this were the most normal situation in the world. Try again, she said. Mira groaned. Again, again. Mira lifted her wand, took a breath, closed her eyes. Okay, softer, less force. The book rose. Slowly, steadily. It hovered in the air, perfectly balanced. Mira opened one eye. I did it. You adjusted your intent, XYR said. Acceptable. I did more than acceptable. Moderately acceptable. Mira rolled her eyes. You're a cat. I am still superior. You're still a cat. I am a temporary cat. The classroom burst into laughter. XYRR's tail flicked again, but there was less edge to it now. Less hostility. More irritation. Which, for an alien warlord, was progress. Later that day, the courtyard buzzed with rumors. He's helping students now. He ate 3 bowls of fish. He chased a glowing orb for 5 minutes. I did not chase it. XYRR snapped from nearby. It was conducting unpredictable movements. It was a practice light. I was analyzing it. You jumped. I made a calculated leap. You missed. I was testing gravity. A group of students laughed, so hard one of them had to sit down. Nearby, Mira sat cross-legged on the grass, watching XYRR with a small smile. You're different, she said. XYRR paused. Clarify, you're not trying to conquer us anymore. I am still evaluating this planet. Uh-huh. And its people. Uh-huh. And its food. Mira grinned. Yeah, that too. XYRR looked away slightly. Your species is illogical. We know. You lack structure. Also true. You make decisions based on emotion instead of efficiency. Mira tilted her head. And XYRR hesitated. For a fraction of a second. And yet, it glanced around. At the students laughing. At a group practicing spells. And failing spectacularly. At a professor arguing with a book that refused to stay closed. You adapt. Mira blinked. What? You fail, XYR said. Repeatedly. Without consistency. Without logic. Wow. Thanks. And yet you improve. Mira crossed her arms. That's called learning. It is inefficient. It works. XYR fell silent. That word again. Works. Not perfect. Not optimized. Not controlled. Just works. Above them, the alien ship hovered silently in orbit. Watching. Waiting. Confused. Inside the ship, tension filled the command deck. Status update, the second in command asked. He is still a cat. We can see that. He has consumed local resources. Food. Yes. And he appears stable. Stable. He has not resumed the invasion. The commander stared at the screen. Below, the live feed showed XYRR sitting beside a human child while watching a spell demonstration. He is observing them. Yes. Why? No one answered. Because no one understood. Back at the academy, Mira stood again, wand in hand. Okay, she said. I'm going to try the reversal spell. Several students backed away. Good idea. Very good idea. Please don't turn him into something worse. I'm right here. XYRR snapped. Mira took a breath. Okay. Restoratio forma. Wait. She froze. What? XYRR stepped forward. Small. Fluffy. Completely serious. Not yet. Mira blinked. Not yet. I require more data. You want to stay like this? This form is limiting. XYRR admitted. Then why? Because, XYRR said, looking around again. Your species does something we do not. Mira lowered her wand slightly. What? XYRR's tail flicked once. You accept imperfection. Silence. You do not eliminate it. XYRR continued. You do not correct it immediately. Mira thought for a moment. Sometimes we try. And sometimes you don't. Yeah. XYRR looked down at its paw. Flexed it slowly. And yet you still succeed. Mira smiled softly. Yeah. Explain. She shrugged. We don't need to be perfect. XYRR looked up. Why not? Mira grinned. Because even our mistakes can change everything. A quiet breeze passed through the courtyard. Somewhere, a spell misfired and turned a bench into a chicken. No one even reacted. XYRR watched it happen. Watched the chaos. The laughter. The complete lack of panic. This is highly inefficient, it said. Mira nodded. Yep. A pause. Then, I understand. And for the first time, Commander XYRR didn't sound frustrated. It sounded curious. 3 days later, the galaxy received a transmission that would be studied, debated, and feared for centuries. Operation Earth Conquest suspended. Reason: unpredictable anomalous threat. Classification: human magic. Across star systems, Commander stared at the report in disbelief. Unpredictable. That's not even a proper category. What kind of weapon is that? Back in orbit, the Dominion fleet remained perfectly still. Not because they were defeated, but because they were uncertain. And for a civilization built on precision and control, uncertainty was far more terrifying than war. Down below, in the Arcane Academy, Commander XYRR, Supreme Warlord of 1,000 conquered worlds, was chasing a butterfly. I am not chasing it. XYRR snapped mid-pounce. The butterfly drifted lazily upward. XYRR leapt, missed, rolled once, landed with what it clearly believed was dignity. Several students collapsed laughing. You jumped again. I did not jump. I performed a tactical. You flipped. I adapted. You fell. I calculated poorly. Mira sat nearby, shaking her head. You like it here, don't you? XYRR froze. Define like. You know. Enjoy. I do not enjoy. You chase butterflies. They are erratic targets. You nap in the sun. That is energy conservation. You purr. I do not purr. Right on cue. A low, unmistakable rumble. The students lost it. I hate all of you. XYRR muttered, curling slightly as if the ground had suddenly become very comfortable. Later that afternoon, Mira stood in the center of the courtyard again. This time, there was no nervousness. Only focus. Okay, she said. I'm ready. Around her, students gathered in a wide circle. Even Professor Aloan watched with quiet interest. XYRR stood in front of her. Still small. Still fluffy. Still different. You have improved, XYRR said. Yeah, Mira replied. I had a good teacher. Acceptable. She raised her wand. Took a breath. Okay, this should work. A faint glow formed at the tip. Stable. Controlled. Nothing like the chaotic spark from before. Restoratio forma. The spell flowed forward. Not wild this time. Not accidental. Intentional. It wrapped around XYRR in soft, golden light. The air hummed. The ground trembled slightly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the light surged, expanded, brightened, and, a wave of energy pushed outward. Students shielded their eyes. Wind rushed through the courtyard. Magic flared against the academy walls. Then, silence. The light faded, and where the small black cat had stood, Commander XYRR stood once more. Tall, armored, perfect. The courtyard held its breath. Mira lowered her wand slowly. Did it work? XYRR looked down at its hands, flexed its fingers. The armor shimmered back into place, flawless as ever. Its 6 glowing eyes flickered. Systems restored. The students tensed. Some stepped back. Others held their breath. This was it. The moment everything changed. The moment the war might begin again. XYRR lifted its head. Looked at Mira. At Aloan. At the academy. At the place that had broken every rule it understood. You had the opportunity to eliminate me, XYR said. Mira blinked. That wasn't the plan. You failed to capitalize on a strategic advantage. Yeah, she said. We do that. A pause. Why? Mira shrugged. Because you weren't a threat anymore. I was always a threat. Not really. XYR hesitated. You turned me into a lesser form. By accident. You kept me that way. You asked us to wait. Silence. The students shifted. XYR looked around again. At the courtyard. At the laughter. At the chaos. At the imperfection. You chose not to win. XYR said. Mira smiled slightly. We already did. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, XYR turned toward the sky. Toward the fleet waiting above. A beam of light flickered down briefly. A silent connection. My lord, came the voice from orbit. The courtyard tensed again. XYR spoke clearly. Prepare to withdraw. The entire academy froze. My lord, the voice repeated. This planet is no longer a target. Reason. XYR looked back at the humans. At Mira. At the place that had changed everything. They are unpredictable. Yes, my lord. We have noted. They are also, XYR paused. Searching. Dangerous. The students blinked. Dangerous, someone whispered. We didn't even do anything. XYR's eyes glowed faintly. Exactly. Silence. Then the beam vanished. The ship above began to move. Slowly. Carefully. Retreating. That night, the academy was louder than ever. Students celebrated. Stories spread. Laughter echoed through the halls. And in the courtyard, Commander XYR sat quietly beside Mira. It is over, Mira said. For now. XYR replied. You're leaving. A pause. Yes. Mira nodded slowly. Okay. Another pause. But, XYR added, I will return. Mira smiled. Hopefully not to conquer us. No. XYR glanced at her. To learn. Mira's smile widened. Yeah, that sounds better. A soft breeze passed through the courtyard, and somewhere in the vast galaxy, a new truth began to spread. Humans didn't win because they were stronger, or smarter, or more advanced. They won because, even their weakest spell, their smallest mistake, their most imperfect moment, could do something no perfect system ever could. Change everything.